so if you don't know anything about this case, I hope that you'll check out the description box because there's a comprehensive write-up there for you. I covered this trial extensively. It was great to watch together as a community. And so now we're finally going to see baby boy be sentenced because we didn't get to see that. The other day, they had only uploaded just a very quick, just a little 3-minute clip. So I'd put that on the community tab. If you missed that or my YouTube short, then remember to check my YouTube shorts and check my community tab because that's where I update you, right? And I was very disappointed, but here it is now. We can actually watch his sentencing. So before we get into that, I just quickly want to see something here where they say Howard. So Daniel Howard, a 58-year-old former Idaho State Police trooper, will die in prison, Kootenai County Prosecutor Stanley Mortensen said after the sentence was handed down. That was last week, Thursday. Howard was convicted in March of murdering his wife. They say strangling his wife, Kendy Howard, placing her nude body in a bathtub and shooting her, trigger warning, shooting her through the mouth to make it look like she took her own life. Wow. Okay, I'm so sorry about the pesky heart and all of that. Well, I'll try to, I don't know if I can do anything about it right now. Anywho, let's play this. I want to make sure I'll do it like this. Okay. Now let me know if you can hear this. Oh my goodness, look at him.
Your Honor, I am
we actually need to boost a little bit actually because it's a little bit soft there. Let's try that.
excuse me for a second. Excuse me for a second. I'm not that monster, I assure you, that people are portraying me to be. Kendy and I had 28 years together and raised a family, had mostly a good marriage and a good life.
I think we're going to need a little bit of closed captions here for his, Your Honor, I'm not the monster. Oh, look at him. That's a perfect pose. I know, sorry, this is not, again, I'm just using a different setup today just for the stream, okay? And so I'm over here. Normally you see me a lot bigger. Okay, look at baby boy. Remember before this, he went on a hunger strike. He already did that on Kendy's birthday because, the attention always has to be on him. And then a month before his sentencing, he went on a hunger strike. They said that he was having renal failure and passing out and organ, all kinds. And it sounded very dramatic. I don't know now. Was that the defense saying that? Or because he looks all right. He did apparently lose quite a lot of weight, but he seems okay. I think he was baby boying it, right? Okay, so let's just go back a little bit here with Your Honor, and then I'll move this so that you can actually hopefully see it. Let's see if the closed captioning actually gets it right.
People are portraying me to be. Kendy and I had 28 years together and raised a family, had mostly a good marriage and a good life. I worked away from home all the time, and I was gone, and that was probably the gist of most of our problems that I was gone. But I'm not that animal that they portrayed me, and I'm monster. And I couldn't have been that monster for 28 years and not be here before the court, way before him. It is not my intention to anger the court or disrespect the process.
This guy sounds like the freaking Red Dragon on Hannibal. Red Dragon. It's not my intention to disrespect the court, but I'm not a monster. You sure sound like one. Do you know what you did? Damn. Remember how you barked at the moon? If you didn't see that, if you don't know anything about this case, you got to check out the trial replays. It's all time stamped for you. And damn, his body cam was so painful. We didn't even watch all of it together. We couldn't survive it. It was too much. Look at him. I don't want to. Okay, so we're just gonna keep going here.
I used to believe in and worked for. But Your Honor, is about to sentence an innocent man in prison. And I love my wife. And I miss her. And I love my in-laws, Jamie and Wendell, and my stepdaughter, Brooke, who I raised since an infant, and her daughter, Kendy, that I helped raise for 5 years when we took them into our house. And I will miss them very much. I do miss them.
Yeah, right, baby boy. He misses his stepdaughter, the one that he banned from the yard sale. After murdering his wife, he sold all her stuff on her birthday. And when her daughter came there to collect some of her mom's things, like especially her most valuable items, wow, he was like, she's trespassing. She's not allowed to be there. Now he's like, I really miss her, my granddaughter. Ugh, please. As if.
Words cannot describe the pain that I feel for that. I stand before you, shell of a man I used to be. Hell, I don't even have a shell left. My wife took a life. My will to live went down significantly.
Oh, your wife took away your will to live. So he murdered her and he tried to make it look like she killed herself. I mean, that's so sickening. And he's a former Idaho State Police Trooper. And now he's like, she took away my will to live. I love my cat says classic narc behavior.
And when the jury found me guilty of crimes I didn't commit, walked down to the prison. Mr. Johnson touched on this. I appreciate the court taking into consideration my service to the country as a Marine with honorable discharge, to the state of Idaho for over 20 years.
Brought dishonor to the role. He's like, I was a Marine, Idaho State Trooper. And look what you did. You've embarrassed everybody. Pernille says, teeny, tiny, violent. Luna says, he is so repulsive. It feels so weird that I'm over here, tiny over here. This is so not where I'm used to being. But anyway, we're working it. Can you believe this guy? Your Honor. And he's like, Mr. Johnson, poor Jason. Oh my goodness. If you want to see, and I'm so sorry, Jason, that's his defense attorney. The worst closing arguments of all time. Shame. Okay, I'm sorry, shame, but it was very bad. We didn't see it. We were like, what was that?
For which I was decorated multiple times for saving lives, not taking them. For service to the community through coaching football and baseball for many years and being a 4-H leader for many years. We provided 1,000 animals to kids in this community that take to the fair show. We were very involved. I volunteered to help the subdivision north of me. Every time there's a windstorm, I cut trees from the driveway around the house. And I volunteered a lot. And
I can't wait for the judge to sentence him. Yes. By the way, the sound is absolutely crap. I boosted it. It's only in my right ear. So if anyone here is like, where the hell is the sound? Put the earbud in the other ear. Okay. Otherwise you won't hear it. I think the sound gets better later on. So I hope so. Anyway, I was a good boy. I was a very good boy. I volunteered, taught basketball. I was a nice guy. Come on, Judge, hand it to him.
To the frustration of my wife sometimes because I was gone even more away from home. And I didn't ask those people to write letters into the court because I didn't want to burden them. So that's why I'm telling you that now. I've successfully completed probation before, like Mr. Johnson said, and I can successfully complete probation and parole in the future, I assure you. I just want to reiterate that I still love Kendy's side of the family, Janie, Wendell, Brian. Still love my stepdaughter. I miss them very much. I love my side of the family, my son Wyatt, my dad John, my sister Diane.
Did he just say I love my side of the family? Did he just say that? I love my side of the family. What? Grunge Truck says every word I try to type is blocked. What are you typing? That is the question. Don't type that. Whatever it is, don't. Tiny violin. Yeah, so KK says, is this his resume? It sure sounds like it. He's like, I'm a good boy. I was very well behaved. I completed parole before when I stole guns from my workplace. That's the rest of that sentence, by the way, if you didn't know. Yes, he served jail time for stealing guns from his work, which was him being an Idaho State Police Trooper. He committed domestic violence against his wife as well. So, and then murder. Try to make it look like she took her own life. This guy has no shame, no remorse, and it's just he's got his little bottom lip out now. Are you believing it? Okay, here we go.
I miss them very much. Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Poor Jason. Look at him. He just wants to be done with this. Mr. Johnson, shame.
Well, I want to start by addressing why we're here. Defense counsel mentioned, what the jury found or didn't find. We're here for sentencing on a conviction of second-degree murder and a conviction of domestic violence, a felony. And what the jury found, Mr. Howard, is that you murdered your wife. Now, why they found it a second-degree murder versus first-degree I'm not there in the jury room, but they didn't find beyond a reasonable doubt the one element of premeditation. But there's no doubt that they found that they found specifically, it was part of the charging documents and part of the jury instructions, that you asphyxiated your wife, that you strangled her, that you killed your wife. And so the state has argued a lot about, we don't know exactly what happened that night, how she obtained the bruising, the burn, the broken jaw, and your attorney disputes the state's version of how she got those injuries. We don't know for sure. But what we know, beyond a reasonable doubt, is that you strangled your wife, you murdered her, and then you staged her naked body in the bathtub, shot her through the mouth, and tried to pass this off as a suicide. That's proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And, often in horrible crimes like this, everybody wants to know why. And often we don't know why. And I can't get inside your brain, but the pretty clear evidence, I agree with the state, is that this was due to, jealousy, greed, pride, anger, revenge, some combination of that. And because of that, you killed your wife. And you killed her in a brutal manner.
Look at his face. He's like, what? So me being a good boy and volunteering for basketball, it didn't help change your mind, Judge? Or the jury? No, it really didn't. And don't forget that he allegedly tried to escape before the verdict even came in. Do you guys remember that? This case had all the twists and turns. If you haven't watched this trial, you need to watch it. It was riveting. Like, oh my goodness. And now look at him. What? He's in complete denial.
And as I think about it, when you killed your wife, when you killed Kendy, you didn't just kill your wife. You killed a mother. You killed a grandmother. You killed a sister. You killed a daughter. You killed a coworker. You killed somebody who brought a lot of life and light to those around her and those she touched. And you snuffed that out because of your own pride, greed, and anger. This is without the state proving necessarily, and they don't have to, without them proving exactly how she received what they describe as this beating, without them proving exactly how she ended up with a body so badly bruised, with a broken jaw, with a burned arm. Set that stuff aside. We know you strangled your wife, you killed her, and you staged her to look like a suicide. We don't have to know the answers to all those other things to understand this was a heinous, outrageous murder. And from my view of the evidence and from what came out, despite your efforts at the time to appear emotional and sad and distraught, it's clear to me that you're a remorseless killer. And I don't say that lightly.
Yes, say that, Judge. It's clear to me that you're a remorseless killer, and I don't say that lightly. Oh my goodness, isn't this just the relief? My goodness, this is so nice to see. I'm so glad. Wow, Linda says this trial was my discovery of your channel. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that you're here still, and I hope that you're watching the Ali Abulaban trial with us as well. Damn, this judge. Perez, is that how we say it again? Perez. He is, and he's so gentle. The judge is so nice, but he's really handing it to him. Okay, one more time. Let's hear that sentence. Damn, here we go.
You killed her and you staged her to look like a suicide. We don't have to know the answers to all those other things to understand this was a heinous, outrageous murder. And from my view of the evidence and from what came out, despite your efforts at the time to appear emotional and sad and distraught, it's clear to me that you're a remorseless killer. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that lightly at all because we don't like to think that anybody would be like that. But you're not sorry, and I don't. The way you treated her family, the way you treated your own family, your own stepdaughter, your granddaughter, were with a cold and callous contempt after the murder, it belies your argument to me today that you love these people and that you're sorry. As Brooke indicated, you never even talked to her about this after the fact. Your behavior towards her was contemptuous and unkind. And I'm not sentencing you for that. There's a lot.
Look at him. He's like talking to Jason. I don't know what he said there, but Jason's just like, just like, nope. Jason Johnson is just like, no, just don't talk to me.
A lot of stuff that came in at the trial as to how you treated people after the fact and how you treated your stepdaughter after the fact and not allowing your granddaughter to get items that were meaningful and significant. But that's not why you're being sentenced today. But that does point to the remorse, the lack of remorse, the lack of caring, and just the callous disregard that you had for Kendy and how her death affected those around her. I'm always guided in sentencing by the Toohill factors, State versus Toohill, as well as, and those factors are codified in Idaho Code 1925-21. The goals of sentencing include the primary consideration of the protection of society, followed by the possibility of risk reduction through rehabilitation, deterrence of the individual and the public generally, and punishment or retribution for wrongdoing and the impact on the victim. And so I want to talk about those briefly. In terms of protection of society, I mean, obviously society has to be protected from somebody who's willing to commit the ultimate crime of murder. If, as you say, if they feel threatened, you didn't even feel threatened. This is over, again, most likely elements of greed and anger and revenge. Someone who responds to, you know, I understand your wife was leaving you after many years of marriage. Your wife had engaged in a relationship with another man, and you were getting divorced. And I don't pretend that would be easy to go through, but this happens to a lot of people, and your reaction was murder. And so society, to protect society from somebody like that, certainly demands prison. I look at the possibility of risk reduction through rehabilitation. And to be frank, in your case, rehabilitation is not a factor. I'm considering that significantly. And again, this might be a different case if you were, 25 years old.
Yeah, but you're not, sir. He's 58. He's a former Idaho State Police Trooper and former Marine. I mean, wow. I know people will say once a Marine, always a Marine, but look what he did. That's why I say it like that, right?
But you're 58 years old, and I don't know how to say this without just sounding mean, but I mean, this is who you are. When I read the PSIs, I read that, and these are, obviously the PSI included a lot of reports. But these are actual quotes you gave to law enforcement 10 years ago. I read the PSI, and when I'm thinking about rehabilitation, when I was reading these, a couple things jumped out at me. This is, and I'm reading from page 79 of the PSI, the first one I got, page 79 of 162. when this is your neighbor who you were angry with. Now, this is him. I said these were quotes from you. This isn't a quote from you. This is what he says you told him. Wood claimed Daniel Howard yelled at him, "I don't know where you are at, but I'm going to find you and kill you, you fucker. You fucked up my life. When you least expect it, I will find you." And then when confronted about this, among a number of things you said, this is a text you sent to another individual, quote, "I used incredible restraint because the weasel fuck is still breathing." So this
He drops his head in shame. Okay, said that. This is another case, another DV case where his wife was done with him. They were busy getting a divorce. She was literally looking at properties to buy. She found her dream house. She was closing on the property. She was going to buy a hot tub for it. She was so excited. She had rekindled a relationship with an old flame from high school. And she was so excited to get away from this controlling abuser. And he's like, nope. Very similar in that sense to this Ali Abulaban trial that we're watching together. So, Jason. Every time I look at Jason, I'm just like, shame. He's regretting his decision to take on this case. My goodness. I think they said throughout the trial, we found out that, if my memory serves me correctly, that he has only ever done like DUI cases. This is his first like murder trial. I think he's regretting his decision. What do you guys think? Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes of this footage, so that's great.
This is 10 years ago. You're talking about somebody is still alive because you used incredible restraint. During the interview, you were asked if you had threatened to splatter Mr. Wood's brains across the wall. You denied the statement and said the following, quote, "I don't know how many people I told that he's lucky that basically he's breathing because I choose to let him to. Dumb, I mean, I never threatened to kill him." But you were telling people he's breathing because you choose to let him to. You went on to say, and then this really jumped out at me because this is 10 years before you murder your wife. You say, "He's damn lucky I'm a fucking stable guy," or I could just imagine myself. I look back at these guys and I'm thinking, these guys that get put in prison because they killed their old ladies who they were fucking around with. I'm like, what? Man, I understand a certain amount why now. Those thoughts going through my mind, yeah, it's not illegal to think that. Let me tell you something. And so 10 years before, you're saying you understand guys killing their wives. And then 10 years later, you do it. Or in the neighborhood of 10 years. So that was page 29 of 162. This is on page 95 of 162. And this is the sergeant's comments as part of this interview with you about your behavior, the stalking behavior that they were investigating of your neighbor. It says, "During this long pause, Daniel Howard attempted to look disgusted and in emotional pain, but appeared feigned, and he would abruptly recover to continue his interview." Interestingly, I read in the PSI writer experienced this as well. On page 18, it says, "Numerous times during his interview, he appeared to be feigning emotions of sadness, but he would quickly change his demeanor and direct the conversation back to himself."
Tell him, Judge, tell him that's what he's doing here in the courtroom. Because that's definitely, I've never seen a baby boy act quite like that. That's why my thumbnail says baby boy centers. This guy could win the award for baby boys, huh? Sure. Does he need a nappy? Yeah, nothing has changed. Wow. Okay. So here we go.
And it's like, wow, this is what we saw at trial. This is what let me back up. I don't mean literally in the trial, although that was certainly, I think there were times you tried to create emotions and were feigning them, but whatever. Your attorneys indicated that part of your disinterest was a trial strategy. So I'm not putting a lot of stock in that. But we saw at trial your efforts the night that you murdered your wife to feign this sadness and these emotions. And it was pretty obvious to see through. But what jumped out at me is seeing that you did this.
What do you mean, Judge? You mean the barking at the moon was not convincing? If you guys have not seen, oh man. And in one of the streams where we talked about the body cam, I also linked, there's an unlisted link for the full body cam if you do want to see that. But good luck surviving it. He literally, this guy he tries to cry on demand. It was the most put on liar, liar, pants on fire thing I think we've ever seen.
This 10 years ago. And that you had these same thoughts. You were talking about allowing people to live through your own self-control and restraint, understanding why people would kill their, quote, old ladies and go to prison. And so you're 58 years old. I don't see a lot of rehabilitation, sadly, in your future. Maybe, I mean, perhaps, but that's not a significant mitigating factor in sentencing you. Deterrence of the individual and the public generally, certainly I consider deterrence. People need to know, and usually, we talk about specific deterrence, that's deterring the person who's in front of me. And then we talk about general deterrence, which is deterring, the community as a whole and the public as a whole. And I almost rarely talk about deterring the public as a whole, because usually people don't pay attention to what's happening on a day-to-day basis here in court. But in your situation, people are. And the public needs to know that there is a severe punishment for murdering your wife. And there's no sort of mitigation because the marriage is on the rocks or the wife was unfaithful or things like that. There's absolutely no justification here for murdering your wife. And I think it's important that the sentence sends that message as well. And then finally, punishment or retribution for wrongdoing and the impact on the victim. As has been noted by our courts, a judge really only has complete information when it comes to retribution and deterrence, because those are based on the nature of the offense. I can't otherwise get inside your head. And there's a lot that went on in this case that we don't know. We don't know how, Kendy got the injuries on her feet, on her head, all over her body. There's a lot of those things we don't know. But what I know beyond a reasonable doubt is that you strangled or asphyxiated your wife. You murdered her. You staged her body to be found as if it were suicide. It's an outrageously egregious murder. And of course, all murder.
An outrageously egregious murder. I don't think Daniel Howard's ever going to forget any of these words, right? He's really hearing it. He's feeling it. Shame. Poor Jason. I wish I could interview Jason, Mr. Johnson, and say, Mr. Johnson, I just don't know if you like it very much now. We were like, what the hell was that? But just like, what was it like? Defending someone who said, he phoned 911 and said, she shot herself. Well, that already really limits the defense. What can Jason Johnson do, really? Shame.
All murder is, but This is particularly heinous in my view, having sat through the trial and seen all the evidence. Sometimes the nature and gravity of the offense standing alone is sufficient to justify a fixed life sentence. And that is what I'm going to impose here. I think Kendy's family deserves to have that closure. The crime is so egregious that I don't think you should be released at any point in the future. And I don't.
I wish the behavior panel could look at this. Just he's listening. Oh man, disappointed. He's expressing disappointment there. Come on, Judge. You've been a good boy.
Pose that lightly. I have thought long and hard about this, considered all the evidence, considered aggravation and mitigation. There's just so little mitigation here. There's just really none. And so I do find that a fixed life sentence is appropriate for the count of murder in the second degree. On the domestic violence charge, I'll impose 10-year sentence and run it concurrent. I didn't even speak about that. I mean, really, I'm not.
Damn. Life sentence plus 10 years, and he's already 58 years old. Enjoy prison for the rest of your life.
I don't mean to give that charge short shrift. The jury found that you were violent and abusive to your wife as well. It's just that, frankly, the killing alone subsumes it all, in my view. And so I'm running that. The domestic violence charge of 10 years will run concurrent with your life sentence. The final thing I want to say, Mr. Howard, is that usually when I sentence people, I try to give some element of hope or encouragement to change for the future, because we want to see that in people. Mm-hmm. And I'll simply say that nobody, as long as they're alive, is beyond redemption. Nobody is beyond the capability of changing, and so you're not beyond redemption. But in this case, that will have to happen within the walls of a prison.
Don't worry, you're not beyond redemption. It's just going to happen, within the walls of a prison forever. Did you hear how he said that? That was so classic. Doesn't do it.
Charge of 10 years will run concurrent with your life sentence.
Concurrent.
The final thing I want to say, Mr. Howard, is that usually when I sentence people, I try to give some element of hope or encouragement to change for the future, because we want to see that in people. And I'll simply say that nobody, as long as they're alive, is beyond redemption. Nobody is beyond the capability of changing, and so you're not beyond redemption. But in this case, that will have to happen within the walls of a prison. I would hope for that for you. But given the egregious crime you committed, this heinous murder, I do find that fixed life is the appropriate sentence. So that will be the order of the court. You do have the right to appeal my decision. Sir, you would have to file an appeal within 42 days.
Oh, and
anything further from the state? Mr. Johnson? Thank you. We'll be in recess.
All right.
Shame. Poor Jason.
Guys.
I know there's all kinds of errors now. Hi, baby boy. Look at him go. There he goes, Shay. And that's what we have. Okay. So first, okay, I want to show you something. So just hang in there. We'll do it like this. Like this. Hello. There I am. Okay, so I want to tell you about this hunger strike and then the sentencing. And then I'll also show you the playlist. So hang on there. Go like this. Okay. That should be good, right? Yes. Can we do this in full screen? Nice. Convicted killer goes on hunger strike in Kootenai County Jail. Now, this was before his sentencing. Okay. So he's obviously been sentenced to a fixed life sentence. I don't know what exactly fixed life sentence. You're going to hear me type Idaho. This happened in Idaho. Somebody just joined the chat and said, what did he do? What did he do? He strangled his wife and then made it look like she shot herself in the bathtub. Whoa. So yeah, that was quite something. Okay, so let's just quickly see Idaho. They say if a jury or the court of if a jury's way finds, okay, wait, I just want to see what that sentence is. Fixed life sentence. How many years is that? A life sentence? Well, it's 58 already. Plus the 10 years is concurrent. Okay. So if somebody knows, please say it in chat. I'm going to focus on this. So they say, Coeur d'Alene, a former Idaho State Police trooper who will be sentenced next week for his wife's murder is on hunger strike and in poor physical condition, according to court records. Can we zoom this? My goodness. Daniel C. Howard was convicted in March of second-degree murder and domestic battery. Prosecutors said that he killed his wife, Kendy Howard, via asphyxiation in February of 2021 and then staged the scene to make it appear as though she died by suicide. Howard is currently participating in a voluntary hunger strike and has eaten or drank very little, if any, food and or fluids in several days. Kootenai County Prosecuting Attorney Stan Mortensen wrote in an April 29th motion asking the court to intervene. Yeah, no parole. Rob says no parole. Okay, let's just see. Candace says, pretty sure 20 years, G. 20 years is a life sentence. It differs per state, though. Okay, Virginia Little says fixed life means no chance at parole. Oh, nice. Okay, no parole. That's what Rob's saying as well. Oh, nice. Okay. Just checking. I don't want to get too excited, and say it's no parole if I don't know. Loving the sound of that. Okay, so they say court records indicate that Howard has lost 50 pounds between March 15th and April 29th, dropping from 210 to 160 pounds. Prosecutors believe that he had been flushing food and fluids down the toilet and deceiving jail staff when asked if he had consumed anything. A blood sample provided April 29th indicated that Howard was in acute renal failure, early stage organ failure, and possibly liver failure, court records said. He reportedly requested that a priest administer last rites to him at the jail. Whoa, so that was quite hectic. I was actually really worried on the day, is the sentencing even going to happen? Are they going to be able to get him there before he dies in a wheelchair, basically the way they're making it sound here, right? Perennial says correct. Fixed life means no parole. Excellent. Medical personnel at the jail provided Howard with approximately 1 liter of intravenous fluid on April 29th, according to court records, though Howard refused recommended medication and a protein shake or liquid food supplement. He's like, no, get that protein shake away from me. Howard was transported to Kootenai Health, but sent back to jail within an hour after refusing to comply with the emergency room physician's attempts to examine and treat him. Prosecutors asked the court to determine that Howard lacks the capacity to make informed medical decisions and to order that Howard be physically restrained with a restraint chair or 4-point restraint within a hospital bed, then forcibly fed with a feeding tube or other means. Damn. The state also asked for Howard's sentencing scheduled for May 23rd to be moved up, and that luckily they didn't have to move it. Well, maybe they wanted earlier. Move up. I think that means earlier. But anyway, it happened. It happened on May 23rd. Howard's attorney, Jason Johnson, did not object to his client being transferred to Kootenai Health, but said he had zero concerns about Howard's ability to understand what was happening or make decisions. At that point, he's just done, okay? First District Judge Lamont Perez denied the state's motion. There is no statutory rule or case law to order intervention. He said the court has no general authority to make an order medically outside of jurisdiction. Perez also denied the state's request that Howard undergo a mental health evaluation to determine competency. Mortensen said he believes that Howard is playing games with his health and anticipated sentencing being delayed due to Howard's health. I think that's what he was trying to do. He tried to delay the verdict, well, by escaping with his friend, Christopher Lurker. If you don't know about Christopher Lurker, you got to see that. You have to see the testimony of a guy who says he's known him for how many years now? Something like he knew him for 40 years, but he's only seen him like 3 times. But he's like, we are best friends. And he was there defending him, but then on the stand admitted that he'd also been in the Law and Crime or Court TV's chat, in the chat commenting on the case before he testified. Ooh, that was naughty. That was a no-no. That's why we called him Christopher Lurker. His first name is Christopher, but then we just named him Christopher Lurker. So they said Howard remains in jail. He faces a minimum sentence of 10 years in prison and a maximum of life. Okay, so we saw that, and then there's one more here that I just want to quickly show you, which is this one. And then I'll show you the playlist as well. Remorseless killer. Howard gets a life sentence for wife's murder. Look at him. And he looked like, what? I wonder if he thought, like, what did he think? Did he really think that the judge is going to be like, shame, you were so nice all your life. It's okay. It's no biggie. Just killed your wife. Whatever. Yeah, right. Suzanne's like, I like that one. Howard the coward. Jennifer says, I still say Christopher Lurker was in love with Daniel Howard. You never know. So, Coeur d'Alene, a former Idaho State Police trooper, will spend the rest of his life in prison for murdering his wife. Daniel C. Howard, 58, was convicted in March of second-degree murder and domestic battery. Prosecutors said he killed his wife, Kendy Howard, via asphyxiation in February of 2021. So for anyone who missed it, we've done presentations, we've done document time, map time, and the whole trial. Of course, Mia Spaghetti says he'd have been one of those troopers all feared. Ooh, being a former Idaho State Police trooper, imagine that, in prison now. And he was a Marine, too. Okay, so they said he was convicted, right? And first District Judge Lamont Perez sentenced Daniel Howard on Thursday to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder. Daniel Howard also received a 10-year sentence for domestic battery, which will run concurrently with his life sentence because it makes no difference. And then he said, we just heard it, it's clear to me that you're a remorseless killer, and I don't say that lightly, Perez told Howard before handing down his sentence. Daniel Howard entered the courtroom under his own power Thursday, wearing a red and white striped jumpsuit. Court records indicate that Howard was unable to walk and used a wheelchair to enter a recent hearing, weakened from losing at least 50 pounds while on a hunger strike in jail. Kendy Howard's loved ones filled the courtroom, as did some supporters of Daniel Howard. Are they talking about Christopher Lurker? I think he was there. Some supporters. That's about the only ones. Maybe his son as well. That was also interesting. You'll never understand the damage that you've caused to all of us. Brooke Wilkins, Kendy Howard's daughter, told the man who raised her from infancy as a stepfather, you are not the victim. You deserve to be here today. You deserve to never again live a free life. I'm actually going to find that clip for us so that we can watch that together. As I say, the Daniel Howard sentencing initially, Daniel Howard was only like 3 minutes. So if I find that again now, I will. It's also on my community tab. So just stand by for that, okay? So I wish we could see the entire victim impact statements. It must have been so powerful. You know, we saw Brooke Wilkins courageous on the stand. Wow. So she said, Wilkins described her family's grief and the toll her mother's murder has taken. She won't see me get married. She said she won't see my daughter grow up. She didn't see me finally get it together. Wilkins said Daniel Howard treated her and other relatives cruelly after he murdered Kendy Howard. He sold his wife's belongings at a yard sale on her birthday, including the beloved collection of glass chickens that Kendy Howard had promised to her granddaughter. If you're hearing noises, the cats have got zoomies and they're literally running through my office right now. Sorry about that. When Wilkins arrived wanting to buy some of her mother's things, to buy, not just to take, she was like, I'll come to the yard sale. I just want to buy some of my mother's things. Daniel Howard called the police and had her removed for trespassing from her childhood home. And now he wants to say, oh, I love her and I miss her. Did you see that crap? Oh, my word. It was one of the last things that he could do without physically hurting me, Wilkins said. After the conviction, Wilkins said that she gets a sense of peace from knowing that her mother's killer no longer controls her memory. Prosecutors said that Daniel Howard murdered his wife because she was planning to leave him for another man. That guy's name was Dan Prado, and he didn't want to split the $2 million in shared assets with her in a divorce. He's really cold, this murderer. I don't have to say suspect anymore. 3 days before she died, Kendy Howard reportedly woke in the middle of the night to her husband standing over her dressed in black. She went to stay with her parents, afraid for her life. But Daniel Howard lured her back home with promises that he loved her and wouldn't harm her, prosecutors said. Before she died, Kendy Howard sustained bruises all over her body, shallow cuts on her feet, a large second-degree burn, and a broken jaw. Prosecuting attorney Art Viharan said her injuries painted a picture of a violent struggle with Daniel Howard. She fought for her life, Viharan said. Prosecutors said that Daniel Howard killed his wife by putting her in a carotid restraint, which he learned from his police training and military training, that cut off blood flow to her brain. The technique was reportedly taught as part of basic training when Daniel Howard went through Idaho Post training. She suffered for a while, Viharan said. That suffering came after the beating. After killing Kendy Howard, prosecutors said that her husband removed her clothes. He carried her body into the bathroom, placed her in the tub, and filled it with water. He pulled her hair back with a clip, though some strands escaped, falling across her face. He set her phone and purse by the sink. At some point, Daniel Howard put a gun in Kendy Howard's mouth and pulled the trigger. The bullet's downward trajectory later revealed that she could not have shot herself. Oh, and that was a big topic during this trial with all the experts, right? Viharan said that Daniel Howard's actions mirrored those of a decade ago, when he threatened to kill a man who allegedly had an affair with his wife. Howard was accused of stalking the man, stealing his mail, pouring syrup in his vehicles, and firing a gun at his house. At that time, Daniel Howard reportedly told investigators that the other man lived only because he allowed it, and he understood why some men kill their wives. Before receiving his sentence, Daniel Howard professed his innocence to the court. He said he loves and misses his wife and still loves Kendy Howard's family, including her daughter. "I'm not that monster that people have portrayed me to be," he said. He asked the judge to consider his military and law enforcement service, as well as his volunteer work in the community. He was almost doing a whole like wink, wink, it's a police officer. Come on, judge. I was a Marine. The judge is like, okay, life without parole. Love that. This judge was so professional throughout the trial as well. So he said, "I stand before you, a shell of the man that I used to be. Hell, I don't even have a shell left." Aw, shame. He doesn't even have a shell left, you guys. My goodness. Yeah, so Patty says police and military training just like Ali, Abulaban, and Burgos Aviles, right? Okay, so then Perez said Daniel Howard committed a heinous, outrageous murder that justified a life sentence. When Daniel Howard killed Kendy Howard, Perez said he killed more than his wife. He also killed a loving mother, grandmother, sister, daughter, and friend. You killed somebody who brought a lot of life and light to those around her, he said. You snuffed that out because of your own pride and greed. Based on his history, Daniel Howard shows little possibility of rehabilitation, Perez said. He said society must be protected from Daniel Howard and that Kendy Howard's family deserves the closure of a life sentence without the possibility of parole. You are not beyond redemption, but in this case, it will have to happen within the walls of a prison. That was just like mic drop. Still guitar. You're also thinking of that turtle boy because he's like, I don't even have a shell anymore. He thought he's a turtle. Like, I don't have one of those. Okay, let me quickly just, I just want to see if I can find the sentence. It's not that one. Hold on. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's sentenced to life in prison. Yeah, this one. Okay, hold on. Let's bring it over. Okay, just get past the music.
No parole. Dan Howard's going to die in prison.
That was the prosecutor, Stanley. He was so good as well.
Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 6. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. A jury convicted Daniel Howard of second-degree murder and domestic battery back in March. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley was inside the courtroom today for the sentencing and is bringing us more tonight.
Kootenai County prosecutors say a second-degree murder conviction doesn't always lead to a life sentence, but that's exactly what happened in this courtroom today, all because the judge wanted to send a very clear message that this crime will not be tolerated.
jealousy, and greed. These are what prosecutors and the judge say motivated Daniel Howard to kill his wife Kendy and stage her death as a suicide.
You can take from the evidence that she fought for her life.
Howard took Kendy's life 3 years ago, and now he will spend the rest of his in prison.
Despite your efforts at the time to appear emotional and sad and distraught, it's clear to me that you're a remorseless killer.
Kendy's family told the judge they are haunted by what they could have done to protect.
So that's why I want to show you this clip, because here's Kendy's daughter, Brooke Wilkins. I just really wish we could have seen this entire victim impact statement. I think there were 4 victim impact statements in total that I saw that was planned for the day. I wish we could see that, but okay.
Protect her.
I struggle with guilt and I struggle with not knowing. I wish I could have convinced her to stay with me instead of going home that night. The fear on her face and in her voice when she told me about how she woke up with him standing over her will never leave me.
Kendy's daughter, Brooke Wilkins, says her mother never let anything get her down. That's why it's become important to her to keep a positive outlook going forward.
Nothing will fill the hole he has created. Nothing can fix or undo what he has done. But her name can be free. The thought that he can no longer have control over her name, her memory, and her spirit gives me a sense of peace.
Howard insists he is innocent and told the judge he loved his wife.
I'm not that monster, I assure you.
You are.
That people portray me to be.
My office clearly feels otherwise. Otherwise, we wouldn't have charged it.
That face that Stanley does here, Stanley Mortensen, the prosecutor, it's so, I love it. It's like, look at him. It's so snarky.
My office.
Look at him. He's like, got no time for Daniel Howard. My office clearly feels differently. That's why we charged him. Look at him. The dry snark.
Clearly feels otherwise. Otherwise, we wouldn't have charged it.
Kootenai County Prosecutor Stanley Mortensen considers the life sentence the best possible outcome, one that Kendy's parents are happy with as well.
It's not going to bring her back, but you know, we're relieved
And
that he's not going to be released and be out there to hurt somebody else.
Howard now has 42 days to file an appeal. At this time, it's not clear if that's something he's going to pursue.
He will. He absolutely will, right? We know he's gonna, right? I mean, just how we know how he is, right? Okay, so I'm gonna quickly show you this now. This is the playlist, Daniel Howard trial. And if you want to see the full body cam, it's right here, day 7. So on day 7, okay, you can see this was a shorter day because we cut it short because of the body cam being so incredibly painful to watch. The fake crying. So this one called Daniel Howard trial body cam day 7 is where it is. And if you can't find this, because this is an unlisted link, it should be there. I can see it right now. But if you can't see it there, go to this episode, day 7. And in the description box, you'll find the link for this one. Okay. So that's what you want to watch if you do. If you didn't see the body cam and we called it howling, but like it's almost like barking at the moon because he was pretending to cry, like, I don't know you. We're like, what is he doing? And then he like looks to see if anyone's still watching him. You know, like when a kid falls over, they scrape their knee, but they first look to see if anyone's watching before they cry. Yeah, that's what he was doing. You're like, Phantom, oh no, to the howls. Yes. Okay, let me just check that I've gotten to everyone. Welcome to all the new members. Thank you to everyone who joined membership today. We'll have a members only stream again soon. At the moment, of course, I'm covering trials. So then you're with me for hours and hours. Sometimes we have to have energy then for those member streams. So, yeah, Phantoms, I can't understand here that you mean the body cam? You can't understand all of that? No one can. It's just... So anyway, I'm just so happy. If you're wondering why I'm so happy in the stream, because he was sentenced to life without parole, finally. And this already happened on the 23rd of May. Ooh, these cats are doing something. That already happened on the 23rd of May. Today is the 28th, but this is the first time we got to see the footage of that. So exciting. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everyone who was here. I really appreciate it. If you didn't see this other trial that I covered today, the Ali Abulaban one, the closing arguments, go check that out. Peggy Torres said, come on, G, let's do encore of this crying. No, I can't. For me, it's already 1 o'clock in the morning. Please don't make me do that at 1 o'clock in the morning. What are you trying to do? Patty says, almost 300K. That is true. We are almost at 300K Grizzlies. That's a nice number. Okay. Yeah, Janet, can you hear them? You said meow, meow, zoomies. Can you hear the cats? Yeah, gotta go. All right, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you all again probably tomorrow. Let's see what other footage we might be able to watch from this Ali Abulaban trial, maybe some other witnesses, maybe the verdict. I don't know. We will see. Other than that, on Wednesday, I've got other plans for you. You're booked. I'm going to be covering another trial after that. I will let you know soon what that is. Okay, everyone. Let me try and find my outro now. Bye.